Hello there. My name is Rick, and welcome to another episode of Gaby's Cheating Stories. We thank you for watching us. If you like this stories, please subscribe. It only takes 1 second, and comment from what country you are watching. Thank you. Now let's start with the love story of today. In this episode, we have a tragic story in which a big mistake drove to a crazy turn. Let's see how it goes. To start, we have Jack Thompson, a man of precision and order. As a professor of pure mathematics at a prestigious university in Miami, his life revolved around numbers, equations, and the quiet solitude of his office. He was content with his routine, spending his days teaching and his nights buried in research. But one fateful afternoon, as he wandered through the bustling streets of downtown Miami, his life took an unexpected turn. He stumbled upon a quaint little shop filled with handmade crafts and vibrant colors. The sign above the door read, "Penny's Treasures," and inside, he found Penny. Penny Martinez was the polar opposite of Jack. She was vibrant, outgoing, and full of life. Her small shop was a reflection of her personality. Colorful, eclectic, and welcoming. She had a knack for creating beautiful artisanal pieces that drew people in, and her warm smile made them stay. When Jack walked in, she was in the middle of arranging a new batch of handmade jewelry. Their eyes met, and something clicked. Jack, usually reserved, found himself striking up a conversation with her. They talked for hours, and by the time Jack left, he had a small handmade keychain and Penny's number. Over the next few weeks, Jack found himself visiting Penny's shop more often. He was captivated by her energy and the way she saw the world. Penny, on the other hand, was intrigued by Jack's intellect and the quiet confidence he exuded. They started dating, and it didn't take long for them to realize that they had something special. Despite their differences, they complemented each other perfectly. Jack brought stability and depth to Penny's life, while Penny brought color and excitement to Jack's. Their relationship blossomed quickly. They spent countless hours together, exploring Miami, sharing their dreams and learning about each other's worlds. Jack introduced Penny to the beauty of mathematics, while Penny showed Jack the joy of living in the moment. It wasn't long before they knew they wanted to spend the rest of their lives together. 6 months after they met, Jack proposed to Penny in her shop, surrounded by the crafts that had brought them together. Penny said yes, and they were married in a small, intimate ceremony on the beach, with the ocean as their witness. The first year of their marriage was nothing short of magical. Jack and Penny were deeply in love, and their life together was a perfect blend of their individual worlds. Jack continued his work at the university, while Penny managed her shop with the same passion and creativity as always. They made time for each other, often meeting for lunch or taking evening walks along the beach. Their weekends were filled with adventures, exploring new places in Miami and beyond. Jack, who had always been a homebody, found himself enjoying the outings Penny planned. They went to art festivals, music concerts, and even tried salsa dancing together. Penny, in turn, appreciated the quiet evenings at home, where they would cook dinner together and watch movies. They were learning to balance their differences, and it seemed like nothing could come between them. But as time went on, small cracks began to appear in their perfect life. Jack's work at the university became more demanding, and he often had to bring work home. Penny, who thrived on social interaction, started to feel the strain of Jack's long hours. She missed the spontaneous outings and the excitement of their early days. Jack, on the other hand, was content with their routine and didn't see the need for constant socializing. Despite these minor tensions, their love for each other remained strong. They were both committed to making their marriage work, and they knew that every relationship had its ups and downs. They continued to support each other, and for the most part, they were happy. But as the months went by, the differences in their personalities became more apparent, and they started to have small arguments about their social life.
Thank you for watching Gaby's Cheating Stories. Please subscribe. It just take 1 second. Thank you.
The first real challenge in their marriage came when Penny's group of friends started planning a series of weekend getaways and parties. Penny, who had always been a life of the party, was excited about the prospect of spending time with her friends. She invited Jack to join her, but he declined, citing his work and the need for some quiet time. Penny was disappointed but decided to go alone, thinking that Jack would join her next time. However, as the weeks went by, Penny found herself going out more often without Jack. She enjoyed the freedom and the excitement of being with her friends, but she also started to feel a growing distance between her and Jack. Jack, on the other hand, was becoming increasingly uncomfortable with Penny's frequent outings. He felt left out and worried that Penny was prioritizing her social life over their marriage. Their arguments became more frequent, and the tension between them grew. Jack accused Penny of being irresponsible, while Penny felt that Jack was being too controlling. They both knew that they needed to find a balance, but neither was willing to compromise. The once perfect harmony of their marriage was starting to fray, and they both felt the strain. Despite the challenges, they still loved each other deeply. They knew that their marriage was worth fighting for, and they were determined to find a way to make it work. But as the months went by, the arguments continued, and the distance between them grew. It was clear that they needed to find a solution before their differences drove them apart. As the years went by, Jack and Penny settled into a routine that, while comfortable, was also fraught with tension. Jack's career at the university was thriving. He had published several papers, received accolades for his teaching, and was even being considered for a promotion. His days were filled with lectures, research, and meetings, and he often brought work home, spending long hours in his study. Penny, on the other hand, had her hands full with her shop and their growing son, Bobby. She had taken a step back from her social life after Bobby was born, but as he grew older, she started to feel the need to reconnect with her friends. Penny's group of friends, a lively bunch of women who loved to go out and have fun, started inviting her to more events. Penny, who had always been a social butterfly, was eager to join them, but Jack, who preferred the quiet of home, often declined to go with her. This led to more arguments between them. Jack felt that Penny was neglecting their family, while Penny felt that Jack was being too rigid and controlling. The tension between them was palpable. Jack would come home from work, exhausted, only to find that Penny was out with her friends. He would sit alone in the living room, wondering where their marriage had gone wrong. Penny, on the other hand, would come home late, feeling guilty but also resentful that Jack didn't understand her need for social interaction. Despite the growing distance between them, they both loved Bobby deeply and were committed to providing him with a stable and loving home. They tried to shield him from their arguments, but it was clear that the tension was affecting him. Bobby, who was now a bright and curious toddler, could sense the strain between his parents. He would often ask why Mommy and Daddy were so quiet, and they would reassure him that everything was fine. But deep down, they both knew that something had to change. They couldn't continue like this, with Penny going out and Jack staying home, both feeling resentful and misunderstood. They needed to find a way to reconnect and rebuild the love and trust that had brought them together in the first place. The turning point in their marriage came when Penny discovered she was pregnant with her second child. The news was both exciting and terrifying. They had always wanted a big family, but the strain in their relationship made them wonder if they were ready for another child. The pregnancy brought them closer in some ways, as they both focused on the new life growing inside Penny. But it also highlighted the cracks in their marriage. Jack, who had always been the more responsible one, started to worry about the financial and emotional strain of another child. He became even more focused on his work, hoping to secure a promotion that would provide more stability for their growing family. Penny, on the other hand, felt overwhelmed by the thought of another baby. She had just started to regain some of her freedom, and the idea of being tied down again was daunting. Their arguments became more frequent and more intense. Jack accused Penny of being selfish, while Penny felt that Jack was being unsupportive. They both knew that they needed to find a way to work through their issues, but the stress of the pregnancy made it difficult. They tried to focus on the positive, but the tension between them was undeniable. As the due date approached, they both made an effort to reconnect. They went to counseling, where they learned to communicate better and understand each other's needs. They also made a conscious effort to spend more time together, going on dates and rekindling the romance that had brought them together in the first place. It wasn't easy, but they were both committed to making their marriage work. When their second child, a beautiful baby girl named Lily, was born, it was a moment of pure joy. They both felt a renewed sense of love and commitment to each other. They knew that their marriage was far from perfect, but they were determined to make it work for the sake of their children. The birth of Lily was a turning point, a reminder of the love that had brought them together and the family they had built. A few years later, with Bobby now in school and Lily thriving, Jack and Penny decided it was time to take a break from their routine. Jack had been promoted to a senior position at the university, and Penny's shop was doing better than ever. They felt that they needed some time alone, away from the stresses of work and parenting. They decided to take a cruise to Jamaica, a place they had always dreamed of visiting. The cruise was everything they had hoped for and more. The ship was luxurious, the food was exquisite, and the entertainment was top-notch. They spent their days lounging by the pool, exploring the ship, and enjoying each other's company. They even took part in some of the onboard activities, like dance classes and cooking demonstrations. For the first time in years, they felt like a couple again, not just parents or professionals. But as the days went by, the old tension started to resurface. Jack, who preferred quiet evenings, wanted to spend their nights relaxing in their cabin or enjoying a quiet dinner. Penny, on the other hand, wanted to experience the nightlife on the ship. She wanted to dance, meet new people, and have fun. Jack tried to compromise, but he couldn't keep up with Penny's energy. One night, after a day of drinking and partying, Penny wanted to continue the fun. Jack, exhausted, told her to go ahead without him. Penny, feeling a mix of excitement and frustration, decided to go to the ship's nightclub alone. There, she met Steven, one of the bartenders. He was charming, handsome, and full of life. They hit it off immediately, and before she knew it, they were dancing and laughing together. The night took a turn that Penny would later regret. After several drinks, she and Steven ended up in his cabin. They had unprotected sex, something Penny would never have done under normal circumstances. But in the heat of the moment, with the alcohol clouding her judgment, she let herself go. When she woke up the next morning, she was filled with guilt and shame. She quickly left Steven's cabin and returned to her own, where Jack was still asleep. The rest of the cruise was a blur for Penny. She tried to act normal, but the guilt was eating her up inside. Jack, oblivious to what had happened, enjoyed the rest of the trip. They returned home with memories of a wonderful vacation, but Penny knew that something had changed. She had betrayed Jack, and she wasn't sure if she could ever forgive herself. Back home, life returned to normal, but Penny couldn't shake the guilt of what she had done. She tried to push it to the back of her mind, but it was always there, lurking in the shadows. She became distant from Jack, avoiding intimacy and making excuses to spend time alone. Jack noticed a change in her behavior, but didn't know what to make of it. He tried to talk to her, but she brushed him off, saying she was just tired. A few weeks later, Penny started to feel unwell. She had a fever, a sore throat, and a rash. She tried to ignore it, hoping it would go away on its own, but the symptoms persisted. Deep down, she knew what it could be, but she was too scared to face the truth. She finally went to the doctor, who ran some tests. The results confirmed her worst fears. She had contracted gonorrhea. Penny was devastated. She had never imagined that one night of indiscretion could have such serious consequences. She felt ashamed, guilty, and terrified of what this would mean for her marriage. She didn't know how to tell Jack, so she kept it to herself, hoping that she could find a way to deal with it on her own. But Jack was no fool. He had noticed Penny's strained behavior and was growing increasingly concerned. One afternoon, he called the babysitter to check on Penny and was told that she had gone to the doctor. Jack, worried that something was seriously wrong, decided to go to the hospital. He used a location app on his phone to find her and arrived just in time to overhear Penny talking to her best friend on the phone. Jack stood outside the door, listening as Penny confessed everything. The night with Stephen, the unprotected sex, the gonorrhea. He felt like the ground had been ripped out from under him. He couldn't believe that Penny, the woman he loved and trusted, had betrayed him in such a way. He felt anger, sadness, and a deep sense of loss. When Penny hung up the phone, Jack walked into the room. The look on his face told her everything she needed to know. He had heard it all. There was no point in denying it. Penny broke down in tears, begging for his forgiveness. But Jack was too hurt to listen. He told her that he needed time to think and left the hospital without another word. The days that followed were some of the darkest in Jack and Penny's marriage. Jack moved into the guest room, and they barely spoke to each other. Penny was consumed with guilt and regret, while Jack struggled with anger and betrayal. They both knew that their marriage was hanging by a thread, but neither knew how to fix it. Penny started her treatment for gonorrhea, which was both painful and humiliating. She had to take antibiotics and undergo regular checkups to ensure that the infection was clearing up. The physical pain was nothing compared to the emotional toll it took on her. She felt like she had lost everything: her husband's trust, her self-respect, and the life they had built together. Jack, on the other hand, was trying to make sense of what had happened. He loved Penny, but he couldn't forgive her for what she had done. He felt like their entire marriage had been a lie, and he didn't know if he could ever trust her again. He threw himself into his work, using it as a distraction from the pain he was feeling. The children, Bobby and Lily, could sense that something was wrong. They asked why Daddy was sleeping in the guest room and why Mommy was always sad. Jack and Penny tried to shield them from the truth, but it was clear that the tension in the house was affecting them. Bobby, who was now old enough to understand that something was wrong, started acting out at school. Lily, who was still young, became more clingy and anxious. Jack and Penny knew that they couldn't continue like this. They needed to make a decision about their future for the sake of their children and themselves. They decided to go to counseling, hoping that it would help them find a way to move forward. But deep down, they both knew that their marriage would never be the same. The counseling sessions were painful but necessary. Jack and Penny sat across from each other in the therapist's office, their emotions raw and exposed. They talked about the night on the cruise, the betrayal, and the pain it had caused. Penny apologized over and over again, but Jack couldn't bring himself to forgive her. He felt like she had broken something fundamental in their relationship, and he didn't know if it could ever be repaired. The therapist helped them explore the underlying issues in their marriage. They talked about the differences in their personalities, the strain of parenting, and the lack of communication that had led to breakdown in their relationship. They both realized that they had been neglecting each other's needs, and that the affair was a symptom of a deeper problem. But knowing the problem and fixing it were two different things. Jack was still struggling with his anger and hurt, while Penny was consumed with guilt and shame. They both wanted to save their marriage, but they didn't know if they could overcome the betrayal. The therapist encouraged them to take things one day at a time. They started with small steps, like spending time together without discussing the affair, and gradually worked their way up to more difficult conversations. It was a slow and painful process, but they both knew that it was necessary if they wanted to move forward. As the weeks went by, they started to see small signs of progress. Jack was able to talk about his feelings without lashing out, and Penny was able to express her remorse without breaking down. They started to reconnect on a deeper level, rediscovering the love that had brought them together in the first place. But the road to recovery was long and uncertain. They both knew that their marriage would never be the same, but they were willing to try to rebuild it. They were committed to each other and to their family, and they were determined to find a way to move forward, no matter how difficult it might be. The family vacation to the beach resort was a turning point for Jack and Penny. The serene environment, the sound of the waves, and the simplicity of life by the ocean allowed them to breathe again. For the first time in months, they felt like a family, whole, connected, and hopeful. Bobby and Lily, sensing the shift in their parents' energy, were more relaxed and joyful than they had been in a long time. The children played in the sand, built castles, and chased seagulls, their laughter echoing along the shore. Jack and Penny watched them from a distance, their hands brushing against each other as they sat on a blanket under the shade of an umbrella. One evening, after the kids had fallen asleep in the cozy beachfront cabin, Jack and Penny sat on the porch, sipping wine and listening to waves crash against the shore. The air was warm and the sky was painted with stars. It was the kind of moment they hadn't shared in years, quiet, intimate, and free of tension. Jack broke the silence first. "I've been thinking," he said, his voice soft but steady, "about us, about everything we've been through." Penny turned to him, her heart pounding. She had been waiting for this conversation, dreading it and longing for it at the same time. "I'm not gonna lie," Jack continued. "What happened, it shattered me. I didn't think I could ever get past it. But being here, watching you with the kids, seeing how hard you've been trying, it's made me realize that I don't want to lose you. I don't want to lose us." Penny's eyes filled with tears. She reached for his hand, holding it tightly. "Jack, I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I know I can't undo what I did, but I want to spend the rest of my life making up to you, to our family." Jack nodded, his own eyes glistening. "I believe you," he said, "and I want to believe in us again. But it's going to take time. We're going to have to work at this every day." Penny nodded, her heart swelling with a mix of relief and determination. "I'll do whatever it takes," she said. "I love you, Jack. I always have." The rest of the vacation was a balm for their wounded hearts. They spent their days exploring the beach, collecting seashells with the kids, and enjoying simple meals together. They talked more openly than they had in years, sharing their fears, their hopes, and their dreams for the future. It wasn't perfect. There were moments of awkwardness and lingering pain, but it was a start. They were rebuilding, brick by brick, the foundation of their marriage. When they returned home, they carried that renewed sense of connection with them. They made a conscious effort to prioritize their relationship, scheduling regular date nights and carving out time to talk without distractions. They also continued their counseling sessions, using them as a safe space to navigate the complexities of forgiveness and trust. It wasn't easy. There were days when the weight of the past felt overwhelming, but they were committed to moving forward. Penny threw herself into her family and her shop with a newfound sense of purpose. She made sure to balance her social life with her responsibilities at home, and she was more mindful of Jack's needs and boundaries. Jack, in turn, made an effort to step out of his comfort zone, joining Penny for social events and showing more interest in her world. They were learning to meet each other halfway, to bridge the gap that had once driven them apart. As the months turned into years, their marriage grew stronger. The scars of the past never fully disappeared, but they serve as a reminder of how far they had come. Bobby and Lily thrived in the stability and love that their parents worked so hard to provide. The family took more trips together, creating new memories that overshadowed the pain of the past. One evening, On their anniversary, Jack and Penny returned to the beach where they had taken that pivotal family vacation. They sat on the same porch, watching the sunset as their children played in the sand. Jack turned to Penny, a small box in his hand. Inside was a new ring, a symbol of their renewed commitment. "We've been through hell and back," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "But I wouldn't want to do it with anyone else. Will you keep building this life with me?" Penny's tears flowed freely as she nodded. "Always," she said, slipping the ring onto her finger. They kissed, the warmth of the setting sun wrapping around them like a promise. It wasn't a perfect ending. It was a new beginning, one filled with hope, resilience, and the unshakable belief that love, when nurtured, could heal even the deepest wounds.